Random greetings, everyone. It's Random, and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can tell, we're on Wattpad. We're reading we're reading a KEVEDD story called KEVEDD One Shots by Math underscore Rainbow 137. This is on Wattpad, by the way. If you have Wattpad, make sure you check the author out. I don't honestly know what my explanation for this, other than the fact that I wanted to read something, and I found this story. And so here's the thing, if I'm being honest, it's like I knew about Ed and Eddie, right? Like I knew about Ed and Eddie. I feel like everybody knows about Ed and Eddie, but I didn't know about Kevin. And so like I searched him up and I started watching some videos about it. I didn't even know he was a real person. I mean, not like a real person, but I didn't even know he was like the character in the book. Not the book, the show, until I started here we go, fake fan alert, right? I didn't know he was like a real character in the show until I like watched a show on with him in it. And I don't honestly know what the ship came in, but I honestly like it from what I've seen. Let's get started. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I know when y'all saw me on Wattpad last time, I think I was reading smut. Oh my goodness, let's not bring that up. I was either reading smut or I was reading the Henry Stickmin story, which got a lot of likes. I will go back to that. Not that I'm just about the likes, but you know. That happened. Okay, let's start. It's a summary. Kevin's hat gets stolen and... Hold on. My bad. Kevin's hat gets stolen and he starts to have mixed feelings about bullying. Before we actually start, there's a video in the background. There's a video in the background being played. Okay, let's go. Kevin was... Am I recording? Oh, yeah. Kevin was angry. No, actually, he passed angry a long time ago. The school day started off normally, like any other day, except this time, something was different. Something different happened. Kevin was bullied. Now, being a bully himself, Kevin knew what was happening right away. He was shoved into a locker, hard, and he heard his friends and teammates gasp loudly. Kevin thought he was seeing stars for a second before he shook his head, ready to beat the crap out of the person who pushed him. That was until he saw who did it. Chase Anderson, the biggest guy in the school. Hold on, my eyebrow itches, I'm sorry. He played on every sports team, but was kicked off of everyone. He got too much joy in beating rival school students into pulp on the field. He was easily close to 7 feet tall and weighed at least 300. He was a mix of muscle and fat, with a short, shaggy, blonde hair cut into some sort of ugly bowl cut. He was held back 2 years ago, making him the oldest student at Peach Creek. That's not a good flex. Just a little message, like little breather. Being held back and stuff like that. A lot of people in my school count that as like a flex or something like that. Like, oh, it's cool. Yeah, I got held back and you didn't. That's not it. I'm just saying. To me, it isn't. Let's continue. A beefy hand slammed into his throat, and Nash screamed. An ugly smirk was on a very ugly face. Beady eyes staring Kevin down. Next thing he knew, he felt a breeze and his hat was gone. His hat was gone. Fucking gone. And it was right in the hands, and it was right in Chase Anderson's fucking hands. Ayo. Let me stop. Ouch. Chase let go all of a sudden, and he dropped to the ground with a small oof. He didn't even know he was being held up in the air. Oh, just another thing, voices are not my specialty. I don't know what Ed sounds like. I think he sounds like a cute nerd. Or I'm just gonna call him Double D to make it less confusing. I think he sounds like a cute nerd. I don't know what cute nerd sounds like. Oh my goodness. I think I'm really a chat bar. I think I'll keep it, Chase muttered, looking over the hat like it was a new treasure. Kevin couldn't even think straight. Instead, he stood up, suddenly hoping to land at least one land in land at least one punch on the guy. But it seemed like Chase read his mind and gave him a hard hit in the gut. The redhead was once again on the ground, this time gasping for air. Several members of the baseball team stepped in ready to fight. Then the bell rung, and Chase gave them all a sneer before leaving with his two lackeys behind him. Kevin felt rage boil up inside him. He couldn't hear his teammates asking him if he was alright. Hold on, I can't read. Asking him, is he alright? He couldn't hear the bell or Nat or even Nat screaming. Still, his hat was gone. Okay. Let's continue. Oof, I need to take a breather. Time seemed to slow down at school, but rumors, I hate that feeling, but rumors were going as fast as ever. Kevin was in second place as student who wasn't seen without his hat. Double D was clearly in first. Every once in a while, Kevin would leave it at home if he knew something odd was going to happen at school. He had a gut feeling about these things, and he was angry at himself for somehow not sensing that this was going to happen. He always took care of his hat. No one else was even allowed to touch it. Hell, he got so bad about it, the coach put it in a safe for him during practice under lock and key. Wow. Every night he would take it off, clean it a little, and gently put it on the dresser. Hey, taking pride in your possessions, that's key. Now he couldn't do that anymore. His hat was gone. Why couldn't Chase take something else from this? His backpack, his shirt, his fucking pants were crying out loud. Kevin was willing to walk around to school in his boxers with keeping his hat. I wouldn't go that far, Kevin. No. But then again, I don't have a hat. That's important to me. I have other things that's important to me, but not a hat. When the first period ended, he went out of his way, seeking the much larger teen out, demanding it back. You want it back, huh? How about a trade? You give me something equal to it, and I'll give it back no prob, Chase said with a smirk. Kevin had his hands balled up tight, so tightly his knuckles were white. Anything he offered, Chase turned it down. Kevin knew he was being a pain in the ass on purpose. He needed to find something in the trade. Second period was spent texting Nat and Naz back and forth, not giving a damn if the teacher yelled at him. I wouldn't either. One sharp look at the teacher, and the teacher acted like he wasn't there anymore. I wish I had that power. My teachers don't even see me, though. Not like in a bad way, but it's just like I stay invisible. Good. That was the way he liked it. Yep. They were trying to brainstorm ideas of what to give the much bigger bully, when by chance Kevin looked up. Double D was looking at him with concern. Without thinking, Kevin gave him the dirtiest look he could. The small teen flinched before looking down at his work, and Kevin felt a guilt wash over him. Being bullied sucked. Oh, I would know. Yep. It really does suck. Bullying is not cute, everybody. So don't be a bully. I know it sounds cringy, don't be a bully, but be a buddy. But if you don't like somebody, bullying is not the answer. Just don't like them. Ed was worried. Normally he was, of course, with so many germs out there. But this was different. He was worried about Kevin, the guy who bullied him since early childhood. And he didn't know why. He was there when Kevin was thrown against the locker, and he felt like justice was served. It was only... I just caught on to what I read. It was only 1 second after that he felt ashamed of what he thought. Just because Kevin was a bully to him didn't mean the jock should be bullied as well. Yep. I was trying to think of words for Eddie. Eddie was next to him watching it, laughing. Ha! Ha! Looks like the shovel chin is getting what he deserves. Ed winced just a little, as it was like a train wreck you couldn't just tear your eyes away from. And everyone in the hall was watching Chase bully Kevin. Eddie, I'm worried. I feel like Kevin's safety's at risk. Maybe we should... What? Are you kidding me, Sockhead? This guy is just going through what we went through. No harm done. Don't worry about it, Eddie said with a small chuckle, giving his friend a pat on the back. Suddenly, Ed was a lot more worried. I'm sorry that there's an ad playing in the background. Gym was the third class of the day, and Again, Ed had a class with Kevin. The beanie wearing teen. Is somebody coming? Hold on. No, I'm good. The beanie wearing teen gave Kevin a frustrated. The beanie wearing teen gave Kevin a frustrated look when the redhead wasn't looking. He was being unreasonable to everyone, very happy. It was dodgeball today, a day that Ed dreaded. Now, is at my high school, we don't do. I always wonder that. What was up with dodgeball being in every high school? And is it in most high schools? My high school, we don't do dodgeball. My high school, we don't even do gym. Well, that's another story, but I can make a whole video about that. But still, it's like, do most high schools have gyms? Or do most high schools have gyms, but do most high schools with gyms play dodgeball? We didn't, so I'm honestly curious. Ads, go away. Okay. Kevin was letting all his pent-up anger that he built up since this morning, throwing balls at the other team so fast that his own teammates were giving him a wide berth. When Green Eye spotted blue something in Kevin snapped a little. He remembered the concern in the dork's face, and for some reason that made him angry. He threw the ball hole with everything he had, getting Double D on the shoulder, sending him flying back with a thud. The coach blew his whistle and walked over to Kevin, getting in his face. I don't know what the hell crawled up your ass, but you better leave it at the door next time. Understood? I'm trying to sound like your stereotypical high school PE teacher. I think that's what they sound. They sound so aggressive in like TV shows and movies. Kevin is gave him a glare before stomping off to the locker room. The coach bent down to look at Double D. Let me see, boy. The coach's voice wasn't exactly warm, but it wasn't as hard as it when he told Kevin off either. That's gonna leave a mark. I have some ice packs in the office. Go get one. Hello? Are people talking to me? Okay. Double D didn't even need to be told twice, rushing off to find some sort of relief for his sore shoulder. It took him only a few minutes to look around the messy office that was connected to the men's locker room, and for him spotted an ice pack. Crushing it, shaking it, he pressed it against his shoulder as it turned to leave. That was when he was sniffling. He tiptoed around a set of lockers, peeked around it. There Kevin was, sitting, his shoulders hunched, head held in his hands, and softly sobbing. Kevin? Kevin looked up. His eyes were red, and there were tear stains on his face. Are you crying? That must have been the wrong thing to ask, because the next thing Ed knew, he was pressed against the locker with Kevin in front of him. He squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for a hit, but it never came. Kevin was going to, of course. Hello? Are people coming? How long is the story taking me? 13 minutes. Oh, Jesus. Kevin was going to, of course, but his eyes trailed to Ed's arm, see him holding an ice pack on his shoulder. The neck of the shirt was loose, and without thinking, Kevin grabbed Ed's hand and pulled it away. Kevin, what are you? Kevin pulled the neck of the shirt down, and he immediately spotted an ugly purple and blue bruise and bit his lip. He wanted to say sorry, but he didn't. Don't tell anyone about this, got it, dork? Ed just nodded his head frantically as Kevin stormed back out of the locker. Oh my goodness, I just imagine. I don't like bruises. I don't like stuff like that. Okay. Let's continue. I think I can only do this story. Oh, it's because the stories. I like stories. I like chapters that are this long. I don't think the author would be watching this, but if they said person is, I like story chapters that are this long. I'm writing a book of my own, but that's a different video to talk about. It was before fourth period when Ed caught Naz lightly tugging on her elbow. Naz, may I ask you something? Sure, Double D. She was cheerful as always, but then he noticed her smile didn't quite reach her eyes today, and he had a feeling it had something to do with what happened in the hallway earlier. What's the matter with Kevin? He seems out of it, he asks. Nat, Nat seems to freeze. Well, you know, it's just one of those off days. Nas, please don't lie to me, Ed whispered. I caught him crying in the facilities during third period. Nas bit her lip before seeing around, seeing how no one was paying any attention. She grabbed his hand before leading him to an empty room. All right, I'll tell you, but you have to promise to keep it a secret. All right, you have my word. Chase took Kevin's hat. She said as if that was a huge secret. I know. I saw the conversation earlier, but all this over a hat? Dude, you don't understand. Kevin's mom gave him that hat. It was back before. I'm sorry. It was back. I need this video to continue. It was back before when we were actually kids, before you moved here, actually. Kevin's family wasn't doing so well money-wise, so his mom saved up enough to take Kevin out to a fair. She got him that hat, but when they were headed back home, they got into a car crash, and she died. That was the last gift she ever gave him. And now Chase is asking Kevin to trade something just as important, but there would never be anything as important, she said sadly. Double D felt his throat go dry as what he heard. Chase, in a sense, took the last connection Kevin had of his mom like it was nothing. That explained the ginger's anger and sadness. I understand. Thank you for telling me. I swear I won't tell a soul. I promise. Naz just gave him a soft smile as she walked out the classroom. I know you won't. I thought I had to sneeze. Double D stood there for a moment, thinking. Chase wanted to trade something for Kevin's hat. Suddenly, an idea formed in his mind. The very first time, Ed skipped the class. Wow. I've never skipped a class. I would make like a little moment, but I don't want to go over 20 minutes. It was easy to find Chase. The guy rarely went to class, and Ed had a feeling he would be kicked out of school soon. Ed, he also had a feeling that the huge teenager didn't care. Under the bleachers was Chase and his two lackeys. Compared to their boss, they were nothing but on their own. There were still bullies, and Ed hated bullies more than now, and more right now than he did any other time. It took him at least 10 minutes to talk himself into going there, but when he thought of what he was doing, he figured it was worth it. Greetings, Chase, Ed said, walking closer to the three. Chase was sitting on a chair he stole from somewhere while the other two stood smoking. What do you want, nerd? His voice was gruff and as he eyed Ed up and down. I would like to talk, if that's acceptable. Sure, start talking. Alone. Ed snapped, suddenly eyeballing the other two teens with them. One of them took a step closer to the one of them took a step closer, and to their surprise, Ed didn't even flinch away. Chase looked at him coldly for a second before nodding. You heard him. Leave. But boss, did I fucking stutter? Chase shouted. Suddenly, this time, I couldn't shout that. I definitely couldn't. Suddenly, this time, they all flinched, and the two musketeers shook their heads, repeating no before running off. Get talking, shrimp. I want to make a trade, Ed said, simply, purposely looking at Kevin's hat that laid on a empty, upside-down milk crate. Chase just smirked. Go on. Lunch rolled around, and Kevin didn't feel hungry. Instead, he felt drained. The anger he felt this morning was starting to fade, just a little though. But the worry of how he treated the smart one of the Eds was bugging him. He didn't know why he cared, but deep down he knew it was because what Chase did to him was what exactly he always did to the double dork, and he hated it. He hated feeling like this. At least it was a new rumor now, one about Double D, which didn't ease Kevin's mind at all. For the first time since ever, the gap tooth teeth. For the first time since ever, the gap tooth teenager skipped class. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. There are bugs on me. Kevin felt like it was his fault. He let out a groan and rested his head on the table, covering it up with his arms. He heard the gasp around him, but he didn't bother to look up. He could do without the drama and the rumors. Suddenly, he felt a tap on his shoulder. Nothing harsh, like what Chase might have done, and nothing playful and heavy like his friends. It was gentle, meant to grab his attention without startling him. He turned around to see who it was. It was Double D. What that is that? Aw, that's sweet. Kevin looked around and noticed for once the whole lunchroom was quiet. Not a peep was heard. Everyone was staring at Ed, who was blushing under all of the attention. His eyes trailed back to Ed, and he took a good look, suddenly realizing why Double D wore a hat. He had short raven-colored hair that was layered and reached to the bottom of his neck. His side-swept bangs almost covering his right eye. His hair was shiny. Excuse me, Clara. His hair was shiny and better looking than any of the girls he had ever saw, and it looked soft too. Then there was a scar. It was ugly. But it was jagged. It looked like somebody tried to open his skull with a knife and did a poor job. But it was... Hello? Sorry. But it was a pale color and half an inch wide, give or take. And it looked like Ed had it forever. No hair was growing on it. It made the perfect part when his hair fell on. And too easily. A scar. As a part in his hair. Now, I probably won't talk about this soon, but I do have multiple scars. I don't talk about this. It's not that it makes me sad or nothing, but I'm not an open book. Even that's kind of a bad thing to be on YouTube, but I'm not an open book. But I do have multiple scars. Some are not visible, but one of them is. Well, two of them are. I have one on my ear, and I have one in another place. And my hair does kind of cover it. That's the one reason why I like having a lot of hair, because it covers stuff that I don't want to be seen. Let's get back to the story. Kevin flushed when it dawned on him. This was something he might have teased him about when they were younger. He could clearly see why he never took off his hat. He could already hear the muttering people. The muttering the people were doing about how he got the scar. It was Kevin. If it was Kevin, he wouldn't want people to talk about a scar either. Where's her hat? Ed pressed his lips together before opening his mouth, only to close it. Instead, he opened his massager bags that he always kept with him. Suddenly, Kevin felt something on his head and quickly took it off. It was his hat. Then everything clicked into place. Come on, Kevin, be smart. You're welcome, Ed said softly before turning and walking away. No, that's sweet. Would y'all ever do something like that? For a bully? Well, I mean, everybody can change, so... I think I was just going to ask this a really dumb question about bullying experiences. I mean, bullying experiences, this is something I would share to y'all if y'all wanted to hear it. So if y'all are comfortable talking in the comments, and I have a safe environment, and hopefully people who watch my videos know that this is a safe environment to talk about anything and anything. Sure, not everybody might have experienced stuff, but you can talk about it, and I will try my best to have some sort of response, not just leave you with a one word text or one word phrase or something like that. Okay. The rest of the day passed with ease, and Kevin started to feel more like himself, but at the same time, not like himself. Rumors were flying faster than before, this time about Ed's scar. A few brave students walked up to him to ask him what happened. Of course, Ed didn't tell them. He didn't tell anybody, not even Eddie, who was bugging him nonstop. It got so bad that when one nosy girl asked Ed Ed had some harsh words for her. She ran off crying. Kevin didn't know the dork had it in him. Everyone was asking him if he was fine. Hell, even he did. But Double D would just gave him a soft smile. I'm perfectly content, Kevin. Thank you for asking. But he wasn't. And Kevin could tell, because never in his life did he see eyes that were so sad. The last bell for the day rung. Out in the corner of the eye, he saw Ed shuffling down quietly through the halls, head down. He had to fix it somehow. Turning the corner, he spotted He spotted another person, Chase. Kevin smirked. The home always the home always felt a little bit lonely, but at this time he really didn't care. He was tired from school and felt he felt like he felt like he was going to cry. He needed his space. Ed knew what would happen if he removed his hat. He knew there would be stares, whispers, rumors. Luckily, Eddie and Ed backed off. They were good friends, and I need the video to come back on. They were good friends. They didn't ask about the scar. Instead, they kept asking him if he was alright. It was a little overbearing, but Ed felt Ed felt happy knowing his two best friends cared so much. True friendship right there. Before he knew it, he was home. He kicked off his shoes and for once didn't even care if he got the living room carpet dirty. He ran upstairs to change into more comfortable clothes when he heard a knock at his door. While forming an excuse not to hang out, he walked downstairs. He just wasn't in the mood to hang out right now. He would hang out with his friends tomorrow. As he opened the door, a greeting on the tip of his tongue, he stopped. Kevin was on his doorstep. He looked banged up with a black and blue eye, a split lip, and a cut on his left cheek. Kevin? I didn't finish what he had to say because suddenly something was covering his eye, and he let out a small whine. Hearing a chuckle, he lifted what was covering his eye to see Kevin smiling. Not smiling, smirking, but smiling. He had a feeling he already knew what it was, but couldn't help but pull it off his head anyway and take a look. It was his hat, and for some reason, that made him smile. I figured since you got mine back, I should get yours back, you know? Kevin muttered, looking away with a blush on his cheeks, rubbing the back of his neck. Thank you, Kevin. That's very sweet. I don't know why you hide it, he blurted. He blurted, suddenly making Ed jump a little. I mean, it's not bad looking at all, and you have nice hair. It makes you look pretty. Aww. This caused both the teens to blush and look away. They stood there for a minute before Kevin started to shuffle his feet as he pointed his thumb over his shoulder at his house. I should get going. All awkward teens. I'm one of these teens, the awkwardness. It's so relatable. Yeah, Ed whispered, using his hat to hide most of his face, except for his eyes, which were shining bright. Kevin could still tell he was blushing, due to the pink ears and the fact that his blush seemed to reach those blue eyes. Kevin turned to walk away, feeling giddy for some reason. He also feeling like a fool. He couldn't believe he just called the dirt pretty. He was lost in thought, so he never heard Ed come up. Oh my goodness, I can't read. So he never heard Ed come up behind him. So he was startled a little when he felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around and saw Ed and opened his mouth to say something, but Ed Lee didn't kiss him. Kissed him. How long is this video? 28 minutes! Guys, I'm almost at the end. Just bear with me. It was very soft, just a peck on the lips, and Kevin found himself wanting more, so he wrapped his arms around the raven-haired teen, who was wrapping his arms around his neck. Finally, when they broke, Ed gave him the smallest of smiles, whispering, "Thank you." Ed pulled away before running back into his house, red-faced. Kevin stood there for a minute, staring at Ed's door till a smile broke in his face. He walked home happier than he had been in a long time. When he got to his room, he did what he always had been doing for the past couple of years, taking off his hat, gently cleaning it, and putting it on his dresser. He sat on his bed staring at the red cat that he loved so much, thinking that now there was 2 reasons to love it. And finished. This was extremely, extremely good, and I really love this chapter. Shout out to the author of this book, and shout out to Wattpad, because, nobody would be able to share this creativity. They could probably still share, without Wattpad, but, Wattpad's a good app. You should definitely download it. Again, shout out to the author, though, for making this really, really well-done chapter. I would read another one, but my video was already at least at 30 minutes, 29, about to be at 30 minutes. So I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all so much for listening. Hope you all are doing well. Don't forget to always stay safe, stay supportive, and stay random. Bye.